Welcome back to Graf-X Tech. Today we're going to compare the 2018 iPad Pro with the brand new M4 iPad Pro. So what's really changed in the 6 years? Alright, so the first thing we're going to discuss is the new display that the M4 iPad Pro has. So this is the first time since the 2018 iPad Pro that the 11-inch has actually gotten a new display. So this is now OLED, and it's tandem OLED. So it's two OLED screens stacked on top of each other to create this really bright display. Like first, let's just give max brightness on both of these. And you can already see this is brighter. And look at the white points. This is clearly a lot brighter than previous iPads. And when viewing HDR content, it can peak at 1600 nits, and this is 1000 nits right now. Alright, so let's check out some content that will really pop on this OLED display to see the differences between these two. Alright, so before we even push play on these videos, look at how much deeper of a black the new tablet is. And this is even with a nanotexture display, which gives it a little bit more gray than even the standard glass does. So this is definitely going to give you rich blacks because they fully turn off the pixels when it's OLED versus having a backlight which keeps this grayish light on the entire time. It doesn't look as good in my opinion. So let's play these videos. So yeah, look at how much better the blacks are. They're almost the same color as the bezel right here. And because of this nanotexture, you get none of this reflection that you're getting on this screen as well, which I think is a really big deal. And the HDR content does truly pop on the screen. You're only going to get a little bit of that from looking at it through the camera, but trust me, these screens look amazing in person, and this OLED content really pops on the screens. Yeah, that is just complete blackness here. There is no blooming either, like the mini LED displays had, just complete darkness. That looks so good. All right, we're gonna stop this test for now. So to wrap up the differences between these two different kinds of displays, the OLED gives it that rich true black, and then it has the dual stack to give it way more brightness than this ever had. This maxes out at 600 nits, where this goes up to 1000 for regular SDR content and even upwards of 1600 for some HDR content, and that's insanely bright compared to this screen. The new iPad Pro also offers a nanotexture option for the 1 and 2 terabyte models. And as you saw, it really decreases the amount of reflections you're getting on the screen. And I think for some people on their workflows, especially for me, since I'm in an environment that gives me a lot of reflections and I'm trying to show content well through the camera, this is actually a really good option. So it's not reflecting my camera back down at me or anything to that effect. And the very last thing I want to talk about with the displays is that the new M4 iPad Pro does have a slight improvement when it comes to ProMotion. It actually now goes from 120 down to 10 hertz versus just 120 down to 24. Next, we're going to talk about the build of these devices, and just really quick first, we're going to compare the thinness. I have shown this in a YouTube short already, but I just figured I'd show it here as well. So as you can see, when it comes to the 11-inch sizes, they are not too terribly different, as the 11-inch is not quite as thin as the new 13-inch iPad Pro, and the 11-inch was never as thick as the old 12.9-inch iPad Pro was. So there's not as huge of a difference between these two, but it is still thinner, and you do notice that. And as far as the weight goes, there's also not a huge difference. This is lighter, the new one, but I think it's only by like 0.5 pounds or 20-ish grams. So there's not a lot of difference between these two, but again, it is lighter, it is thinner, but just not by a lot. So while we have them here, we're gonna actually look at the camera bumps as well. And look, it's back to one camera, just like the 2018 iPad Pro. We've come back to where we started. But there is a lot of improvements with this new camera bump, but it is interesting that they went back to just one camera, and they're both 12 megapixels. They both can record 4K video, although this one can do it at ProRes, but I kind of feel like that might be a software limitation that they made on here, not really hardware. As far as I know, these two cameras aren't really that different hardware-wise. They have the same aperture, same size, basically the same specs here. Where the difference comes in is everything else on this camera bump. So it has a LiDAR scanner for more precise depth perception, and any AR apps you might want to use on the iPad, even though AR apps have kind of died out a little bit on the iPad. But if you use them for work or 3D scanning, it's going to be way more accurate for those kind of things. And also in the back here is an ambient light sensor, which gives it a more accurate sense of the surrounding light. So that way the screen brightness can be better adapted to the environment around you. I think it also has to do with the adaptive True Tone flash, which when you scan a document, it actually very intelligently flashes the light in order to get rid of all shadows and make a really perfect scan of whatever page you're documenting. So yeah, only one camera back here for both these, but there are differences, and I do think this one is definitely an improvement. So next we're gonna show both the front-facing camera video performance and the microphone performance between these two. So going first here is the 2018 iPad Pro, and this is me looking straight at the screen, but obviously it looks like I'm looking way off to the side, and even my whole head is way off to the side because the camera is on the portrait side. And this was a problem that faced iPads for far too long, and it is fixed on the new one, but as you can see on here, it makes video calls not great looking. This is before center stage as well, and the front-facing camera is only 7 megapixels. Not great for FaceTime calls. This is also you hearing the audio from the 2018 iPad Pro. So the 2018 iPad Pro actually has 5 microphones versus only 4 on the new one. But the 4 on the new one are called studio quality microphones, whatever that's supposed to mean. And the one on the 2018 iPad Pro is just regular microphones. So this is the new camera on the M4 iPad Pro, and you are also hearing the audio from this one. So this is 4 microphones instead of 5, but they are studio quality. So let me know if that sounds better to you guys or not. And then this is the video quality as well from this camera. And already it looks so much better, at least just straight on, because I can actually see myself when I'm looking at the screen. And I look like I'm talking to you guys versus looking off to the side and looking really weird, because that's how it always looked on old iPads, which this is a very, very welcome change. And I still think this should have come several years earlier than it did, but we have it now, and that's really good. Also, this is an ultra-wide camera, so you can get shots like this, which show way more of your environment around you versus the other iPad has no option like this. And then in apps like FaceTime, you can use center stage for the camera to follow you around, and that's really helpful if you have meetings where you need to be standing or giving a presentation. Next, we're going to talk about the differences between these two chips in these iPad Pros. And there's been 6 years between them, so I really hope they've changed at this point. The first thing I want to point out is the different core counts. So on my model, there is a 10-core CPU, so that's 4 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. Now, if you get the lower storage models, you'll still get more cores than the 2018. You'll get 3 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores as well. And on the 2018, you get 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. But now the efficiency cores here are a lot better than the efficiency cores in the 2018 iPad Pro. So that means even the 9-core with only 3 performance cores is still going to beat this thing by a lot. And then for RAM between these two, the 1 and 2 terabytes of the M4 get 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the lower storage models get 8 gigabytes of RAM. But even the 8 gigabytes of RAM is still double what the 2018 iPad Pro has, which is only 4 gigabytes of RAM. And you can also see here the clock speed is only 2.49 gigahertz on the 2018 iPad Pro, whereas on the M4, the clock speed is actually 4.41 gigahertz, which is a pretty significant increase of clock speed. So I've ran some benchmarks on these iPad Pros, and Let's pull them up right here. For the CPU on the 2018 iPad Pro, it is going to be 1356 on the single core and 4803 on the multi-core. And in this modern day of technology, that's not that much. The average of this device is actually a little bit lower than what I ended up getting, and it's pretty far behind the current iPad lineup here, and even the models that have come out a few years ago as well. Then if we look here at the M4 iPad Pro, its single core is 3714, and its multi-core is 14545. And the M4 chip has been the best single core performance on all of Geekbench right now, which is a pretty significant feat for a little tiny iPad that has no fan. And the multi-core is actually doing pretty stinking good as well. I've actually seen that it does even better in some cases than the M3 Pro chip in the MacBook Pros, which those actually have a fan, and it's the Pro chip, so you'd think it would be better than this one. So yeah, in 6 years, the chips got better, and that makes sense. They should. And with that better chip comes better compatibility. And what I mean by that is all the M series iPad Pros support Apple's native Pro apps like Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro, and they're just gonna run all Pro apps better. And I do find that there is a significant performance increase with this M4 iPad Pro versus the 2018 one. I have used this one for an extended period of time. This is actually currently my wife's, but recently, before I actually purchased the M4 iPad Pro, I was using this for about a month to remember kind of what its status is. And I will say this chip makes everything run faster, and you can notice it on the new iPad Pro. Also, with the new M series of chips comes external monitor support, which is really nice because especially with the 11-inch size, you are going to feel like you're running out of space on the screen every now and then. And it's good to have the option to be able to plug it into an external monitor and actually get more space that way. And it's not just mirroring what you already have, it's giving you actual more usable space. And lastly, what comes with these new M series of chips is a Thunderbolt port on the new iPads. And that enables much higher transfer speeds, and partially why these M series of chips can actually do the external monitor support, and that is very nice and helpful. And then just really quick, I want to mention battery life between these two, and they are rated for the same battery life on Apple's website. 10 hours of battery life between the two of them. Now, this device is older, so its battery is going to be a little bit more worn. So just by that alone, it's not going to last as long as the new one. Now, this one also has a brighter display, so we're gonna have to see how that battery life really holds up over time. I'll be making plenty more follow-up videos for the M4 iPad Pro to see how well the battery life really holds up over time, and is it really as good as previous models? Is it worse? Is it better? And what that really means. And now, something else that's really important for iPad Pros is accessories. And I will say, the accessories for the new iPad Pro have gotten better. I find them better in pretty much every way. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Magic Keyboard. Now, unfortunately, I no longer have my Magic Keyboard for my 11-inch iPad Pro here, and that's because it unfortunately got into a fight with a bottle of soda, and the soda won. So I had to get rid of it because the keys no longer worked anymore. But we're going to set it up next to it in the Smart Folio case and just talk about the old Magic Keyboard. So compared to the old Magic Keyboard, it does have a bigger trackpad. This is made out of aluminum now, and it has a function row of keys. And the iPad sits a little bit further back, which is a little bit easier on the eyes and better viewing angles in general. And this new Magic Keyboard is actually thinner and lighter than the previous model, and I'm all for this iPad being lighter and more portable. And considering they didn't raise the price at all on this Magic Keyboard, and it feels so much more premium with this aluminum and having that function row of keys, this is a really welcome upgrade. Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect, because if it was perfect, it would be able to fold down for a better pencil drawing angle, and that would be peak Magic Keyboard for me. I still wish Apple had a better way of using the Apple Pencil with the iPad in its Magic Keyboard. Right now, the best solution is to take it out of the case, fold it down, and set it back on top, and you get a little bit of an angle because of how the case sits. And that's really the best you can do. So that's why it might be better to get something like a smart folio case to magnetize onto it when you don't want the keyboard. So that way you can get some better drawing angles like this as well. So speaking of the Apple Pencil, let's look at the Apple Pencil differences between these two models. So obviously this is the Gen 2 Apple Pencil, and this is what redefined Apple Pencil. It introduced the magnetic charging, it introduced this new design and this new look for the Apple Pencil and double tap. This was the Apple Pencil for 6 years, and there is a lot to love about this Apple Pencil. But this is the Apple Pencil Pro, and it is better in a lot of ways. The new squeeze gesture shortcut is really, really nice to have. The barrel roll is not something I'm going to use a lot, but it is still a super cool feature. And having a haptic motor in here and Find My support is all incredibly welcome changes. And this, again, peak Apple Pencil right here. This is what I'm talking about. So just to demonstrate a couple of those differences right here. So here's the squeeze gesture. It pulls up a set of tools and you can pick from them. Let's pick the highlighter. So then you can see the barrel roll in action. And then back to thick right here, thin, spinning it all around. There's a lot of cool functionality you can do with barrel roll versus my scribbles that I'm making right here. But this does show you how it generally works. And then unfortunately, you can't feel the haptic motor in here, but trust me, it feels really nice. And it's a very welcome addition to the Apple Pencil. It also taps you when you do double tap as well. And that's nice to know because sometimes when you're not looking at the corner of the screen to see your tool change, it's a nice little confirmation that it did register your double tap and your tool did in fact change. Also with the new iPad Pros, starting with the M2, they got the hover where you can preview what your pencil is going to mark before it ever touches the screen. And that is really nice. And with this Apple Pencil, there's also a shadow. I'm going to show you a screen recording of that so you can actually see that there is an artificial shadow of the Apple Pencil over the page to make it look like whatever marker or tool you're using is hovering over that screen. And if you watch when I use the squeeze gesture and swap the tool to something else, like this crayon, well, now a crayon is what's hovering over the display. And that is a really neat effect. You almost don't notice it, but it does add a little something to the Apple Pencil experience, and I am definitely here for that. Otherwise, the crazy fast latency, the really nice drawing experience, the magnetic charging, double tap, all those things are the same between these two iPads. So there's definitely nothing wrong with the second gen Apple Pencil. It's still really, really good. But this Apple Pencil Pro adds all the things it was missing, I feel like. And this is just peak pencil. So what do I really think about these new iPad Pros compared to the old 2018 ones? Is it really that big of an improvement over these 6 years? Well, I do think this is a really big improvement over the 2018 iPad Pro. In fact, if you want faster performance, if you're definitely feeling some slowdowns in the 2018 iPad Pro and that these new Apple Pencil features are something you're really interested in, I think it's a perfect time to upgrade. This Apple Pencil stayed for 6 years. So there's a good chance if you upgrade to the new Apple Pencil Pro, it might be around for another 5 to 6 years. I also think the front-facing camera placement is just so much better, and it's what the iPad needed, and I am never going back to an iPad that does not have a landscape camera. So all in all, I think this is a great upgrade to the iPad Pro and something it really needed, and I am very happy with these new M4 iPad Pros. However, I will say, if all you do with your iPad Pro is consume content, maybe do some web searching, some light note taking, well, you know what? there's probably not a really good reason for you to upgrade to the new iPad Pro, especially if you're not feeling like this is slow or it's dying too fast on you or anything like that. If it's working for you, then keep using it. Don't upgrade just to upgrade. If this is working, keep it. Don't be like me. Don't upgrade just because it's new. That is something that I'm doing for you guys, and I'm also a total nerd. But this is great for a lot of people just consuming content, doing some light drawing, even some light creativity work. It's all totally fine on this 2018 iPad Pro, and I still recommend it as a really cheap option for a lot of people out there. So thank you for watching. I hope this video was informative for you. And for any of those who still use the 2018 iPad Pro, let me know down in the comments. Do you think you're going to upgrade to the M4, or are you totally fine with how your 2018 iPad Pro works? Is iPadOS the thing that's holding you back from upgrading to the new ones? Let me know all those things. For me, iPadOS is pretty cool, and I enjoy using it. It's the apps that I just want to get a little bit better. I want more and more pro and desktop level apps to come to the iPad, and to me that's more of a developer issue than even an Apple issue. Although something that would be really nice is something like Rosetta or something to that effect that would let you port over Mac or other kind of formatted apps to the iPad. I would love that. Even if it's more of a workaround and it's not a super great UI experience, I would still take that, and that's a really good option to have. As always, comment below with any questions you have about these devices. I can do follow-up videos. If you think I missed something, let me know that in the comments. I'll either make another video about it or at least answer your question. I want to know any feedback you may have. I will respond to you. I will be in touch, and I will be giving you the best answer I possibly can. And if you're curious about the setup I use at all, look in the description below. I will have everything I use currently linked up there. And if you use any of those links, it will support the channel, and I do appreciate that. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time for another video on the M4 iPad Pro.